He wasn't just a music mogul. Prosecutors say he was the architect of a secret empire of abuse, fear, and control. As Sean Diddy Combs enters the fourth week of his explosive criminal trial, new revelations, shocking witness accounts, and one looming question dominate the courtroom. Will Christina Carorm, his most trusted aide and alleged fixer, finally testify? The stakes are sky high, the allegations dark, and the truth could shake the entire industry. This is not just a trial. It's a reckoning. As the sex trafficking and racketeering case against Sean Diddy Combs wraps up its third week, prosecutors aim to prove he wasn't just a music mogul, but the leader of a criminal operation. Explosive witness testimony involving kidnapping and intimidation may support their case. But will it lead to a conviction? I'm Kennedy Walker, and you're watching Law and Crime. So far, over 19 witnesses have testified about Combs's alleged misconduct. Prosecutors claim he used his businesses, music, fashion, and alcohol, to hide decades of criminal acts. Combs denies all charges. At the core of the case are RICO charges, meaning prosecutors don't need to prove Combs committed every crime himself, only that he benefited from or directed an ongoing criminal group. Former employee Capricorn Clark claimed she was kidnapped at gunpoint by Combs for not telling him Cassie was dating Kid Cudi. She testified that Combs said, "Get dressed, we're going to kill this slur." And when she resisted, he replied, "I don't give a what you want to do, go get dressed." Clark said Combs drove her to Cudi's home, entered with a guard, and chased Cudi after he arrived. Afterward, Combs allegedly threatened to kill her if she didn't stop Cudi from contacting police. Clark also testified she was forced to take polygraph tests for 5 days over a stolen jewelry accusation. The examiner allegedly warned, "You're going to be in the East River if I can't get a reading." She recounted another time when Combs said he might have to kill her over past ties to Suge Knight. Prosecutors argue this isn't isolated. It's part of a pattern of fear and control. Kid Cudi testified his car exploded in his driveway after falling out with Combs. While no DNA linked Combs, the implication was clear. Cassie Ventura's mother also testified that she paid Combs $20,000 to stop him from releasing sex tapes of her daughter. Combs faces 2 sex trafficking charges. Prosecutors claim he used threats, drugs, and coercion to force Cassie into sexual acts with male escorts. Cassie testified, "I felt disgusting. I was humiliated." When asked why she went along, she replied, "I didn't feel like I had a choice." If convicted, Combs faces 15 years to life. He has pleaded not guilty. His legal team says relationships were consensual and denies any criminal operation or trafficking. This is a Law and Crime legal alert. If you were diagnosed with a brain or spinal tumor after receiving depot pack shots, you may qualify for a lawsuit. Morgan & Morgan is investigating. It's free to check. Visit forthepeople.com LCDO to learn more. Joining me now is criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Randy Zeelan. Thank you for being here. Randy, thank you for having me. Kennedy, have prosecutors made their case? Randy, it depends on the charge. The most serious one is sex trafficking. It carries a minimum 15-year sentence. But I don't think the government has proven it. Cassie Ventura's own messages and actions undermine the claim of coercion. She seemed willing, even encouraging. That weakens the sex trafficking charge. As for RICO, the government has built a stronger case. They've shown extortion, wire fraud, drug offenses. But RICO requires a business purpose. This enterprise appears focused on satisfying Combs' personal desires, not making money. That might confuse the jury. Kennedy, could expert testimony help explain Cassie's behavior? Randy, it might, but the expert didn't treat Cassie directly. Jurors often dismiss theories that aren't personal. Plus, real-time messages carry more weight than years later testimony. Kennedy, what testimony stood out to you? Randy, ironically, the government's own witnesses weakened their case. They proved Combs acted monstrously, but not necessarily that he committed sex trafficking or ran a criminal enterprise. Kennedy, what about Capricorn Clark's story? Randy, she worked for Combs for 20 years. Despite serious claims, she tried to get her job back in 2024. That kills her credibility. Kennedy. And Kid Cudi's car explosion? Randy. That could support arson as a RICO act. But again, it's hard to tie that to sex trafficking. The story the prosecution is telling feels scattered. Kennedy. So what happens if the jury just doesn't like Combs? Randy. That's jury nullification, convicting someone not because the evidence fits the charges, but because of emotion. That could backfire and lead to appeals. Kennedy. How should the defense respond? Randy. By facing it head-on. Admit Combs is flawed, but remind the jury he's not charged with being a monster. He's charged with specific crimes. If the government didn't prove them, the jury must acquit. Kennedy. Thank you, Randy. My pleasure. Kennedy. Combs denies all allegations. As the fourth week of this explosive trial begins, one name looms large: Christina Courtroom, Combs' former chief of staff. Mentioned repeatedly in testimony and lawsuits, she's alleged to be his right hand in orchestrating the crimes in question. Witnesses describe her as the gatekeeper, the fixer, and possibly a co-conspirator. Will she testify? Is she cooperating? Could she be the prosecution's ace or the defense's unexpected ally? As the courtroom drama intensifies, Christina Courtroom could hold the key to it all. Stay with Law and Crime for the latest updates. I'm Kennedy Walker. We'll see you next time. As week 4 of Sean Diddy Combs' criminal trial looms, the courtroom is no longer just a place of justice. It's become a battleground of credibility, power, and decades of buried truths. The testimonies delivered so far paint a picture of a man once idolized as an icon, now facing allegations that could dismantle his legacy piece by piece. From explosive accounts of witness intimidation to dark claims of sex trafficking and racketeering, each day uncovers another layer of alleged manipulation and abuse, carried out not just by Combs himself, but, prosecutors argue, through a web of trusted associates who enabled his control. At the heart of this unfolding legal drama stands one elusive figure, Christina K.K. Courtroom, mentioned again and again by name, described as Combs's right hand, a woman who allegedly organized, managed, and at times cleaned up the aftermath of what prosecutors now describe as criminal events masked behind the glitz of celebrity life. Her phone has been seized. Her name has been uttered by multiple witnesses, and yet she hasn't taken the stand. Why? Is she the prosecution's secret weapon, waiting to deliver a knockout blow? Has she turned cooperator under sealed immunity? Or is she too legally vulnerable to risk cross-examination? The speculation is mounting, but what's clear is that the outcome of this case could rest on her testimony. If she corroborates the prosecution's narrative, it may cement the image of Combs not just as an abusive figure, but as the mastermind of a coordinated criminal enterprise. If, however, she takes the stand in his defense or refuses to testify altogether, the entire momentum of the case could shift. As the public watches, divided between disbelief and grim validation, the justice system must determine whether what happened behind closed doors in luxury hotel suites constitutes personal depravity or criminal conspiracy, and if the jury finds that the empire Sean Combs built was not just for entertainment, but also exploitation, he could spend the rest of his life behind bars. One thing is certain, the final chapters of this trial promise to be as revealing and consequential as everything that's come before. The courtroom lights are still on, the cameras are still rolling, and the story of power, privilege, and punishment is far from over. Stay with Law and Crime for full coverage as this landmark case continues to unfold.